it's going to be a choice every moment. You're not going to be supported by the outside environment. You're going to be given news that this person was found to do this and this person down to that. The news is teaching you occasionally what to do, rarely, but mostly what not to do. That's pretty much what the news is telling me. Oh, what else are we not supposed to do today? Even one of the greatest minds, Richard Feynman, who got a Nobel Prize for discovering something that most people won't even want to hear about, which is he discovered a positron particle, which actually can disappear and come back and forth and change its position in time. And it's so essential that he discovered that because it really helped out quantum physics to succeed over time. And so we've been able to use it for so many different things and missiles. He's also the guy who discovered the O-rings were a problem in the Saturn that blew up. He also worked on so many different things, taught over here at Caltech. Famous guy, but even his discovery they got the Nobel Prize for, no one believed him for 20 years. He didn't get the Nobel Prize for 20 years after he discovered this. Don't you wish, I don't know what age you're at, but if you're at the age now 40, if you'd have gotten the information at 20 that Feynman's positron says that you can actually create something and change your position in time once you learn to marshal the abilities in your brain, or just in the present time, it gives you the opportunity that you've got a chance every moment to create something newly, then the past is really what it is, which is something to reference, but you don't need to hold that as good information because it was all done by people who were at war for the past 2,500 years. There's things in the past that are useful, but they're very slow to find the useful things. Look at that, 20 years for Feynman's discovery. And he was a nice guy, funny guy. People love this guy. And still, they wouldn't take his thing for the Nobel Prize for 20 years, just like with Einstein's discovery. So what does it mean? It means you're not going to get a lot of agreement when things are nasty, that you don't have to be nasty. You're not going to get a lot of agreement other than, people's empathy or, compassion, which is okay. But you need to say, hey, this isn't happening. This is over. Okay, it happened. He spilled the milk. Now what are we going to do? Are we going to make that my entire history? Some people else may want to do that. Then you want to do something else. Feynman discovered so many things after he did that one thing 20 years ago because no one acknowledged it. So he even worked on so many things that are amazing. And he was a good guy. Why do you want to get sucked into the negativity? Because other people told you that's what they do, and because you want to get along with them, and you felt you have to have some degree of connection by having their feelings or following their lead, that, the big five of the Matrix. Life sucks in general. You can't win. I've tried, and I certainly can't win. My future, if I keep trying, it's not going to make any difference. So there's no reason to keep trying. I can't win. Nobody else is winning. So there isn't anybody else to learn from that can let me out of this. And the kicker is that the world was set up this way so that you were just supposed to suffer and have pain, which is so common in the conversation that, oh, well, how are you doing? Well, I can't complain that much. People have the big five, which just is almost like a chokehold on your entire body. And is why you only use 10% of your brain. That's what cuts down 90% is believing in those five things. So how do you break loose of them? Since you've got so much myelin pathways where people have been pushing that down transgenerationally, you just do these practices every day. And slowly but surely, you get a little bit better. So that just like in any sport, we're not looking for you to win every game. You just got to win the season. You may lose one game. You may lose the big game, against your rival. But then, boom, you won the season. And then you do get to go to the Rose Bowl. You may lose your position on your team, which is what happened to Tom Brady. And he went and created his own team with Gronk. And they ended up winning the Super Bowl. Brand new team. So this happened a bit ago, but that's the only people that win are winning that way. They develop within themselves this, I'm just like Feynman, I'm just going to keep creating and learning and learning and creating, learning and creating. Nobody told him he had to do this. He just figured it out that the other way is those big five, which sucks. The only thing you have left then is just keep using the remote, watching TV or doing something to distract us. There's a lot of things that distract us now. They've, legalized lots of things that you could be completely wiped out every day. Like W.C. Fields say, I feel sorry for people that don't drink alcohol. He said, because, from the moment I get up, I have something to look forward to every day in the afternoon. So it doesn't matter whether it's alcohol, whether it's marijuana, whether it's plant-based, whatever. I worked in all those things for years before I was able to find this form of super, super powerful therapy for your health, your future, and your success in the mountains of China, 30 years ago. But the thing is that getting other people to use it, like whoever's listening now, it's going to be a choice every moment. You're not going to be supported by the outside environment. You're going to be given news that this person was found to do this and this person down to that. So people are teaching you, the news is teaching you occasionally what to do, rarely, but mostly what not to do. That's pretty much what the news is telling me. Oh, what else are we not supposed to do today? Oh, here's a bunch of things. It doesn't mean they're wrong. It doesn't mean you couldn't have been corrupted if you were in the same areas. I learned that so much in being a surgeon through County Hospital. I worked with a lot of nurses and nurse techs who came from the worst parts of town. And, they would tell me about what it's like having to go back, to the hood every day, and how it wasn't safe, and how they worried about their families. And they're trying to break loose of that, yet that was the antecedents that's in the myelin in their sheath. So they got to recreate new myelin, which takes, at least a year of practice. So I wish everybody would do the Energy for Success and get involved in it and practice it for a year, and then come back and tell me what your victories are, which I have thousands and thousands from around the world. But then you'll be the one that says you can do it. Because you can, you were meant to, but it's not a positive thinking. It's an experience of how positive the world was actually set up for you to win, not for you to suffer. And those people that said that, what they were saying is that the matrix, which is what I've described for over 45 years, is that it's sort of the whole agglomeration of all the misinformation you've ever been given, whatever the misinformation was, like this is hard, or that's difficult, or you'll never do this. All the people that were told they never do anything, just like Oprah, they blasted on and they did it. Lucille Ball blasted on and did it. So I'm telling you, it's an individual game, but it's a game that we all are playing together. We can support each other if you don't become part of the news of saying, well, I'm just going to go with the suffering and knock myself out of the game. That you'll have no fun on this planet. So it's there. I don't want you to say the resistance is ever going to go away, because there's going to be people that vote for resistances, vote for stress, vote for aggravation, but they'll just have, one of those long, ongoing things that will sound the same this year. And if you listen to them again next year, it'll be the same, only a different version. And then the next one, and then the next year it'll be the same, as long as they're seduced by that matrix. But once you take charge with the energy, then although there is stressors and there's moguls every day, they're there for us to grow bigger. And we will not get a chance to do anything else on this planet except grow. That's your two choices. You can either grow, which is under a microscope, you look at cells and they're moving. That's called life. Once the cells are not growing and not moving, game over. You're sedated. You're seduced out of life. So you do have a choice, but the game out here is going to stay the game. One of the most important things that people don't realize that in physics, things hang out in your brain and hang out everywhere in your life until they're completed. If someone you said hello to, and then they just ignored you, they just looked at you like you were a wall, it doesn't feel good, because they're not completing the conversation. They may be sick. They may have another problem. Maybe their mind may be occupied, but you personally don't like having to express your energy towards somebody, even when it's exceptionally positive, like, hi, how you doing? And someone says nothing, you're going to get a stomachache, because the way we're built is the more we complete things in our brain, the more space it makes in our brain, the more room you have to make these myelin sheaths on your nerves, and the more chance you get to be super successful. So you want to try to complete things throughout the day. And you want to look at anything and everything that you can to get it to some stage of completion, maybe 10% more each day, 5%, 1%. But if you keep doing that, then you're going to have space to keep creating more. If you don't do that, your day is going to have a lot slower day, because you start to have your brain get weighed down, constantly going, why didn't that person say hello? That's funny. I always say hello to that person. Could it be me? Maybe they're sick. But your brain doesn't leave it alone. We're just built that way, that we like to complete things. And once we complete things, it gives us space. And then we've got room to create something new. Because in physics, no two things can occupy the same space at the same time. So that's what you're made of. So if you don't complete something, then it stays in there. But if you complete it, then it disappears. Because there's no reason for you to keep it in your brain where it's now had a beginning and an end, and then whoop, it's gone. That's why they call it alpha and omega. So once that's happened, there's all this room here. And then within the room, you can then create the perfect mate, the soulmate. We actually work with people who want to have a soulmate. People come in and have no money or lots of money. They've never been able to find the perfect relationship. And we give them this program, and every time they find a soulmate, and we've got tons of photos with them. They're wonderful relationships. Sometimes they have children, buy a home, get better jobs, because, it takes two to have a soulmate. Yes, you want to be in love with life and yourself, but when you put the yin and the yang together, it's a phenomenal geometric progression.